We looked at how J.D. Vance has sounded in his past debate when he ran for Senate. Abortion was a big issue then, as you and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have all emphasized. In many ways, it's an even bigger issue right now. Let's take a look at how he sounded in that debate.
I recognize, of course, that a lot of people are pro-choice, that they have a different view on this issue than I did. I was raised by a woman, the woman who saved my life, my mamaw, was a woman, an old-school Democrat who believed that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. That's not Congressman Ryan's view.
Do you expect to hear a similar J.D. Vance tonight, and what is your response?
Well, look, first off, I think abortion and reproductive freedom is a central issue in this election. It's a central issue on people's minds. And J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are completely out of step with where the majority of Pennsylvania voters are, and dare I say, the majority of Americans are. I mean, Donald Trump and his sidekick, J.D. Vance, will sign a national abortion ban. We'll take away power from governors like me who have protected women in our home states. And I think that is incredibly dangerous. I expect that Tim Walz is going to make that case and make clear that there is an incredible contrast in this race between where J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are as compared to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I think this is a central issue, and J.D. Vance is out of step with the American people.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about the Rust Belt, the Blue Wall, whatever you want to call it. If you poll on these candidates, and I've cautioned people that, you know, we take this with a grain of salt, but they're both polling in about the 40s there, Walz and Vance, in terms of approval. There is the idea that J.D. Vance has a kind of a better edge for the Republican Party. I want to read one thing from The Atlantic for you. They argue that Vance can squeeze, quote, Trumpism through his own post-liberal populist tube and produce something that looks like a coherent ideology, the sharp TV soundbite counterweight to Trump's rambling rally speech. With those points in mind and the fact that Trump didn't do so great in the last debate, that he could use perhaps whatever you call that, a polish tonight, what do you think about that aspect of what Vance can do tonight?
I mean, I don't think J.D. Vance has been polished or coherent since the moment he took the stage as Donald Trump's running mate. I mean, in addition to that, he's been lying to the American people, lying to them about Springfield, Ohio, the very community that he took an oath of office to serve and protect as their United States Senator. He lies routinely, and largely he lies to the American people because he's lying to himself about Donald Trump. I mean, he knows better than this. The guy's pretty well educated, and so he probably took a debate class or two over at Yale. So he is maybe polished, but it doesn't escape the fact that what he is selling is not something I think people are buying. I think he's goofy. I think he is not honest with the American people. He continues to lie about his home state. And I do not expect him to do particularly well this evening.
Is goofy the new weird?
I don't know. I just think, look, I think the American people look at him and go, well, I don't know. That's goofy. That's weird. That's out of step. And by the way, more importantly, they look at him and say, you're not talking about anything that's going to make my life better. Look, elections are about the future. They're about electing people who are going to make our lives better, who are going to make it easier to live in the community that they love, make it more affordable, make us safer at home and abroad. And J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have offered no serious policies, no serious plans, no serious vision on how to do that for the American people.
A lot of people in the party think that you are a good communicator. So these next questions, I think, will be interesting to get your response as we go into the debate, because there are attacks on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz that are sort of lies or out of bounds. We don't necessarily platform those. And then there are policy questions about her evolution. You're, I'm sure, familiar with some of this. I'll put up on Harris's stances here. The Washington Post says the policies have shifted in her different races. Harris in 2019 embraced the fracking ban, supported Medicare for all. This was when she was running in the primary, some people say to the left, advocated abolishing private health insurance. On an issue that I know you and other Democrats care a lot about, Supreme Court reform, it's interesting. Back when she was first running in the primaries, she backed something that she said I was, quote, open to expanding the Supreme Court. Now she says, well, common sense Supreme Court reforms like these ethics rules, perhaps term limits that Biden has proposed, but not going as far as she would in 2019. I understand that some of these have been addressed, say the fracking she's spoken on, but on the issue of the Supreme Court, where a lot of progressives, a lot of people who just care about an honest court, want a stronger stance, and they say, oh, 5 years ago she had one. What do you say to that? What do you think is the best response to that? Do you think we'll hear about any of that at the debate tonight?
Well, I think on any of these issues, it's important to state your views and then also not shut yourself off from listening to the opinions of other people, listening to experts, learning and considering yourself how maybe you evolve on a particular issue. Let's take fracking, for example, one of the few examples that you cited. She was against it. And then she has made clear that she understands, after listening to the good people of Pennsylvania, listening to others, how natural gas helps us move to a more clean energy future, how it makes our economy stronger, particularly in Pennsylvania, puts people to work, and it strengthens our national security. I think it's a sign of strength when an elected official listens to others and reconsiders a position. And I'll just tell you for myself, I ran for Attorney General successfully twice on a platform of supporting the death penalty. And Ari, I'll be very candid. Every time a case came to my desk, I just couldn't sign off on the prospect of capital punishment. And then after just a few weeks sitting in the chair as governor of Pennsylvania, when I was faced with having to sign my first execution warrant, I didn't sign it. And instead I stood up and told the good people of Pennsylvania that I had changed my views. And I explained why I had changed my views. And I explained how the conversations I had with Pennsylvanians, by the way, the conversations I had with my children, changed my views and helped me evolve on that issue. I don't expect all your viewers to agree with me on that, just as I'm sure they don't all agree with the vice president on some of the positions she's taken. But I think it's a sign of strength when you're willing to listen to other voices and evolve on issues. Yeah. I certainly have. I think the vice president has, and I think we're better for it.
Well, it's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. And as a governor, as you know better than most, that's one of the most solemn obligations you have, because it's literally life and death. So hearing you walk us through that's actually very interesting. It's debate night. I said we'd run through a lot of the stuff, the politics. Our final item is just for fun, Governor. You've never been on the beat before. We have I know it's a news program. There's a lot of important stuff going on. We have some fun. Are you prepared for a moderate amount of fun?
I love fun, man, but now there's so much pressure. I hope I'm able to meet the moment.
Well, I'm making it so heavy and awkward around the fun.
Is it about my Phillies? I'm happy to talk about the Phillies.
No, but it is about you. It has been observed that sometimes some people think you sound somewhat like President Obama. We will show a quick comparison. Let's take a look.
Donald Trump knows she's You know how I know this? Because he's afraid to debate her now.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Are you ready to look the next president of the United States in the eye and say, hello, Madam President?
We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
Now, no one's saying it's an exact impression, but here you are on the record on debate night. Are you aware of ever sounding like Obama? Have you ever tried to sound like Obama? The floor is yours.
Well, by the way, I think in one of those clips there, I had a Greg Brady moment. It sounded like my voice was changing there. Look, Barack Obama is the greatest orator of my lifetime. I certainly don't try and emulate him. No one can. The fact that some people think I might be all right at public speaking is really kind. But no, he's the best, and he's one of one.
One of one. Good. Perhaps accurate, but also political answer. But just to pinpoint it, you've never tried. You've never thought, I'm going to do a little.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Well, we had to ask, and how fun was that for you? Was it a little bit fun?
That was fun. I'm still happy to talk about the Phillies if you want. But